Well, welcome everyone. I'm here with Chef Carla Hall. It's very exciting to be here with you. So those of you that don't know, she was a finalist on the 5th and the 8th season of Top Chef on Bravo. Yes, and is a current co-host on the Chew talk show on ABC, which is a lot of fun to watch. And so we're here, or she's here, we're going to talk about the new book, Carla's Comfort Foods, yes, which I'm the chef at Root Cafe. My name's Hillary Bergh, and thank you.
I ate there yesterday.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We had a little chat over lunch, impromptu. And then today we did a whole menu based on her book, so hopefully some of you were able to join for that. And if not, now you know that next time when there's a chef on campus, I write a menu from their book. So you have another book that you wrote.
Cooking with Love, and it's primarily comfort foods from the Sunday suppers where I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee, and also a lot of the recipes that I did on Top Chef, the chicken pot pie, Jimmy Fallon, that's in there. The Last Supper buttered tarragon peas are in this book, but the meal that I did at Ellis Island, that's in there, that I really thought I should have won because it was so good, but I didn't. So that's in there. The oyster stew, where I won the car, that's in there. Anything I want a prize, it's in there, or I should have won, it's in there.
Very good. And then you and some of the other co-hosts on the Chew wrote a cookbook together, too.
Right. Well, we wrote it in that we're on ABC and we worked there, and they took our recipes and put them in that book.
Okay.
Video.
We don't get paid for that one. So anyway, all right. Well, I really liked how much you spoke about connections through food. Yeah. And I'm sure that you noticed when we ate yesterday, there's a lot of communal tables in the cafes, and when you got to go around. So can you speak a little bit about how important that is to not only just be eating and good food, but to make these connections?
Right, it's about community. Well, the inspiration for this book came from the political climate, like our polarizing, very dysfunctional political climate in 2012, when I was thinking, it's so terrible that they polarize each other's differences, and it's like repelling magnets. And I was thinking, how can I show through food how we're very similar as people, and our differences should be celebrated. So the spices basically are the differences, and it should be celebrated. So take the first set of recipes that I thought about that would actually share my thinking was chicken and milk gravy, which is basically a smothered chicken dish in the South. Like sausage and gravy, that white gravy that you put on that you hope is not too thick, that's yummy. Okay, so that's the chicken and milk gravy. But if you take the milk out and you add sour cream and paprika, you could be in Hungary.
Right.
If you take the milk out and you add heavy cream, Dijon mustard, white wine, and tarragon, you could be in France. Or if you take the milk out and you add tomatoes, habanero peppers, and maybe plantains or bananas, you could be in West Africa. But at the end of the day, they're all a smothered chicken dish. You're just changing the spices, and they should be celebrated. It shouldn't be where, well, I eat smothered chicken where I live with milk gravy, and just because you're having it with wine and heavy cream, I don't like you, and I'm never going to taste your food. I mean, how crazy is that? And so this is what this book is about, and it's about sharing and honoring and celebrating people and their food.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We spoke a little bit yesterday about how my cafe goes all around the world in our menu, and
have you guys been there? Right? I mean, I know you work here, right? Of course you've been there. But I was just so amazed how you were in Cambodia, and then Russia, and then you were in the Philippines.
Right.
It was amazing, like day after day. It wasn't like you got all this stuff and you get to turn it over after a week. That's a lot of work. Y'all, that's a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah, so it is a lot of work, but it's interesting for my cooks. They get to apply this technique where it's the same basic technique with just a few little moderations of what the ingredients are. So it's really unique, and you get to learn about that in the book.
So one of the things that I do, I mean, in the book, of course, there are all of these recipes, and I take, in the vegetable chapter, I will take my favorite vegetables because it's my book. So peas, I mean, you know, I may never get to do it again. So, you know, when you write your book, you put your favorite vegetables in there. But peas, corn, squash, cauliflower. So I take my favorite vegetables and I change them with those spices. But let's say that you are somebody who cooks a lot at home. There's a spice chart. I have the international spice chart. And in that spice chart, you have the aromatics, which will be your fresh ingredients like onions, garlic, you know, peppers, all of that. And then you have your fresh herbs. And then you have your dried spices, the things that make that cuisine unique, and then whatever miscellaneous ingredients. So I have these 18 different cuisines. So let's say you make a meatloaf and you want to change it. You already know how to make meatloaf. So now what you do to change it up is to go to one of those different cuisines and just mix it up a little bit. So now instead of one recipe, you have 18 different recipes.
Yeah, the spice chart was really cool.
Yeah. Did you agree with it or disagree?
I agreed, yeah. I wanted to add a few more things on there.
I know. And let me tell you why I didn't. Exactly. Did you want to add things that were more exotic or right?
Some unique things.
Some unique things. And I didn't do that specifically because when you think about international food, you think that you have to go to a specialty food market. And I'm honestly trying to make this so approachable to, and I think about middle America. I just want to make it very approachable for them so that they're not going to get scared. And, you know, not only are the ingredients approachable, but the recipes are approachable. The time, I thought about, can you make a lot of them during the week?
Right.
So I steered away from those exotic things.
Yeah. And there's not a Middle Eastern market on the corner of every, you know,
store in Iowa.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
So cool. So I know that you were inspired by your grandma Thelma. You didn't get to really cook with her, but inspired by her, which is great. And
Thelma and Granny. I have two. Yeah. My grandmother's cooked so well, and it just leaped right over my mom. You know.
Yeah. Well, it happens. So and I had a lot of fun growing up and cooking with my grandma Edie Bell.
Edie Bell.
Edie Bell.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Freddie Mae and Edie Bell. They would have been. Oh my God.
They
Together they are
best friends. Pair. Yes. So. How important is it to get our youth involved and to pass down these traditions?
It's so important. As a matter of fact, the first cookbook that I wrote, I was actually thinking about my niece. Now, my sister doesn't like to cook. My niece kind of likes to cook. So I said, if we weren't there with my grandmother. I didn't start cooking until I was about 25. I went to culinary school at 30. And so then I was trying to backpedal and say, oh gosh, what are you making? And then my grandma Thelma had passed away already, and then my grandmother, Granny, Freddie Mae, she was already in her late 80s, going to her 90s. By the way, my mother was still going to Lebanon, Tennessee, 30 miles outside of Nashville to get those Sunday suppers to take to work for her lunch, okay? I'm just saying. I mean, my grandmother was still cooking for my mom at 94.
Yeah, my grandma, I think my grandma was 92 and she was still cooking every Sunday for all of us.
Right?
Yeah.
You know? And then you don't realize that they were sick until the macaroni starts slipping. And you're like, wait, are you okay? I mean.
Yeah, this is a little different, right?
I know, right? What happened? You know, you notice in the food is that you're talking to them, but you're really focused on the food. Okay. So anyway, it's so important for those traditions to be carried down the line, and unless the kids are actually in there, and I think with our food, and even though I'm talking about international food, I really like the fact that we can keep our food kind of segregated so it's not so homogenized and blending with other cuisines, because it's about history. It's kind of like this griot that you're passing on these stories along, and it's nice. And if they all mix, then for the generations that are younger than us, they forget what like Southern food is, or what Indian food is, or what all of these different
honoring
cuisines
that
are.
Authenticity.
Exactly, exactly, and just loving it for what it is. And then you can mix, but as long as they know what the original was. But I think because of shows like the Food Network and Bravo and Chopped and all of these different shows, kids are getting more involved in food, and the world is getting smaller, and they're actually kind of putting chefs on pedestals. I don't know if that's so great, but the great thing is they want to be cooks, and they want to eat different foods, and they're playing with their food, unlike, back in the day when, I will only eat a grilled cheese and plain rice and plain chicken. Now,
Right.
I heard a kid, I was at a grocery store, and the kid was crying because they didn't have the sushi that he wanted. And I wasn't even here. I mean, I could understand if I was here on the West Coast. I was because I'm sure all the kids are like, I don't like that sushi. I want, but I was in Maryland, and I'm like, oh my
wow.
God, that's crazy. No, I was in Pittsburgh.
Oh, that's cool.
Right? Isn't that cool?
Surprising.
It was very surprising.
Yeah.
I'm like, kid, you cry. You cry for your sushi.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah, there's a child care center, not here on campus, but there's 4 of them that the Googlers can send their kids to. And the chef there has told me many stories where the parents have called her and said, my kid is asking for this quinoa salad that you made. My kid is asking for these kale chips. How do I make them? What is this?
Exactly.
So it's really cool.
It's really cool, and that's what's so important about kids being involved in food, because what happens, I think, as adults, we tend to put them in these boxes, but when kids have an experience and they take that experience home, then they're broadening the experience, or their parents' idea of what they would want. And so then the parents are getting those things, and it's this big cycle that should continue, and it's so beautiful to see.
Yeah, it is, for sure. So you alluded a little bit to TV a few minutes ago. What are some secrets you might be able to share with us? Because is there really cooking going on?
There's really cooking. Some things aren't good. Some things are not a winner. There are some things, and so we actually do cook in real time, and some of the things are so delicious. And a lot of times you will see us start a dish, and then there's a commercial break, and we finish cooking that dish during the commercial break, and we come back and we eat it, especially things that cook very quickly.
Okay.
I mean, stews, you can't do that with, so you put them together and there's a swap, but for the most part, we really try to do those quickly. Those dishes that cook quickly, we are eating them. As a matter of fact, we've kind of got a little snobbish about it, so the culinary team will bring some of those dishes from the kitchen, but they were cooked, because they have to stagger everything and make them ahead of time. And we're like, oh, I don't want that. I want the dish that was just cooked, that's hot and delicious that Mario made. No offense to the kitchen staff, but,
Well, that's good to know, because that shows you how quickly you can make something at home, right?
Right. I mean, the 5 and 5 that Michael does, his little segment called 5 and 5. So it's 5 ingredients, 5 minutes or less, and he makes it right there. And so if it takes Michael 5 minutes, I mean, maybe it's going to take somebody at home 20 minutes. But still, that's fast to get dinner on the table. But, and sometimes, his pan will be too hot, and, there are all kinds of antics that are going on. And Mario is saying, yeah, chef, you haven't had the pasta in, you have 1 minute left. Yeah, let's see if you're going to make it. But it's still really fun to show people that they can have a really quick meal under 30 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know that all of you are working long hours. I'm certainly working long hours. So little tips and tricks, anything else you might share with us? So we need to watch the show for the 5 and 5.
Yeah, you need to watch it. Here's a funny story. It has nothing to do with food. But
okay. We're ready, I'm sure.
So when the show first started, I had to get used to the transition from Top Chef to where I'm just cooking and there happens to be a camera, to actually hosting a show where you're cooking, you're talking to a guest, you're telling the audience a little bit about yourself, all of these things, you're juggling. It's really harder than you think. I mean, it's multitasking like nobody's business. And we have found, studies have shown that multitasking really doesn't work, right? Okay. But it's kind of boring when you have to cook something and you're just like, whatever, hold on, and you just focus on that one thing. So you have to multitask, okay? So I have an IFB in my ear where the executive producer talks in your ear, and he helps you go along. If you need to move on, he will say, okay, move on. He'll say, great, and then you move on. Fantastic, you move on. So this was in the beginning before, I'm used to someone talking in my ear. Usually if I hear voices in my head, they're mine.
Right.
But not somebody else's, with this deep voice with an Australian accent. Yeah. So I have the IFB. I'm actually interviewing this person. I'm cooking, and I'm doing this egg dish. And he just keeps saying, egg, egg. And he just keeps saying it. He doesn't, that's all he's saying, egg. So I'm hearing egg, and let's say I'm interviewing you, and I'm like, egg. He says egg, egg.
Egg, okay.
I'm saying it out loud. I just keep saying egg. And then I look over at Michael. He's like this, cracking up, laughing. Because I'm like, why does he keep saying egg? He doesn't say, put the egg, don't forget the egg. So he just says this one word, egg. Okay, so I'm like, you need to give me more words. Okay, so keep that in your head. So then, let's fast forward. Now it's season 2. And this is what I get in my ear. Carla, well, you know, what I think you should do is talk to them about, you know, there's an egg. And I'm like, why are you giving me so many words? He's having a conversation in my ear. I'm like, and so sometimes if you watch the show, I'm like this. Because I'm answering those voices in my head, you know, which is kind of crazy. The food is usually really good. You can tell. I don't fake it. If I don't like something, my face really can't.
It's not going to hold back.
It doesn't. I'm like. So Mario, most of the things that Mario makes are delicious. I love me some Mario Batali. But one time, at band camp, Mario made this dish. It was panettone, delicious. He made a French toast with panettone with maple syrup, delicious. And you know, Mario makes really good meatballs with a tomato sauce. He actually has a tomato sauce that you can buy, you know, delicious. But this particular day, he decided to take that meatball and that tomato sauce and that beautiful panettone with that maple syrup to a mashup.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no. I'm sure they don't eat it in Italy, and I'm very sure they should not have it here in America. It was not a winner, and I was like, yeah, it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
Did he really like it? He thought it was...
I was looking at him, and I said, do you like... Right. I said, do you really like this? Because when Mario doesn't like something, he's like this. Like that one time that Clinton decided to make an eggnog, and with raw eggs, okay? And Mario's like, I'm not having that eggnog, right? But everybody else had some. And on the way home, if you were on the train, you were having issues, you know. And we were all texting each other saying, "I had to take a meeting. I had to run to the bathroom and take a meeting." That's code for having to go to the bathroom for us. And it wasn't good. Mario said, "I told you guys not to have that eggnog with those fresh eggs that weren't so fresh."
Maybe if they had been, you know, from someone's chicken in the backyard.
Exactly. You know, like Portlandia, you knew that chicken. You're like, is that from Sam? Sam, did you collect that chicken out? Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yes.
But no, we didn't know those chickens.
No, that's risky. Raw chicken.
Risky.
All
Word
right.
to the wise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, comfort food, you know, there's always this stigma of it's heavy, it's greasy, but you take a very healthy approach here, which I like. I have a very healthy approach in my cafe, and people that haven't eaten my food yet, or maybe you can relate to before you were famous, and you know, they look at me and they go, "But you're so skinny, your food must not be good."
Never trust a skinny chef. You get it all the time, right?
Yeah.
Do you eat your food?
Right.
I know, I get it too.
Yeah.
I get it too.
So, what do you do?
The funny thing is, you know, people, oftentimes they say, oh, you have this healthy approach to your food, and I don't think of it that way. I think that it's just how I cook. I want to taste the food. I want to taste the ingredients. I want to taste the vegetables that I'm using, so I don't want to put a lot of fat into it. I don't want to put a lot of bacon. If I'm having bacon, I'm having bacon, but if I'm having greens, I'm having greens. Right. If I'm having hot water cornbread, which you guys probably know nothing about, you can have a little bit of fat. Has anybody had hot water cornbread? What? Where are your people from, girl? Ah! Okay, so hot water cornbread. Let's just take a little time out, a little break. Hot water cornbread is white cornmeal, and you have a little bit of fat, and some salt, and No sugar. By the way, Southerners, for the most part, if they're real Southerners, they like everything sweet but their cornbread. It's okay to dump a whole 5 pounds of sugar in your tea, that's fine, but you do not put it in the cornbread. And then a little bit of bacon fat, bacon grease, and you make this mush with hot water. You make a mush, and then you make it into little patties and you fry it. So inside it's very tender and the outside is kind of crispy because it fries in this shallow oil. And that's what you use with, you have it with beans and collard greens and stews because it's for sopping, which is why we don't have sweet cornbread, because it's for sopping. Why did I start talking about this?
We were talking about healthy food and the healthy approach,
Yes.
but fat is still good. There's fat in here. Fat is good.
Fat is good, but I want to taste the food.
Yes.
I want to taste it. And so my grandmother, who was born in 1908, at a time when people were having a lot of hog jaws and all of that in her food. Her husband my grandfather Doc, had high blood pressure, and so she never cooked. She took that out of her food. So I grew up having a lighter version of Southern food, and I think that comfort food for me is all of the food that you might have in your kitchen where somebody who loves you is making for you. And so when you're feeling low, you go back to those food memories for that thing. Mm-hmm. And so it changes for everybody. I mean, in San Francisco, it may be your chow pino. I mean, and that doesn't have a lot of fat in it. It's a seafood stew, right? But it's different for everybody. And I wanted to celebrate what could be comfort food for one and a delicacy for another or whatever, and that's what this book is about.
Yeah, it's very cool. So as a female in our industry, we're usually in the minority in the kitchens. I know that in many of the departments here at Google, women are also the minority. So
move over, man, they're coming. It is the year of the woman. I think the decade of the woman. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
Well, can you speak a little bit, so how can, as a woman, how can you empower yourself? How can you rise to the top and not be intimidated or not be called, the B word because you're standing strong?
Right. I think for me, first off, I always wanted to do something that I loved. I mean, it was my job. My parents told me it's your job to be happy. So wherever I am, I want to be. And there's confidence that knowing that, and also I'm a Taurus. So I think my stubbornness protects me because if I want to be there, I'm all in. You can't tell me to leave, I'm all in. But I think what's also helped me is that I'm tall. So
yes, I agreed.
Right, especially in a kitchen when you're around a lot of men. No offense.
Yeah.
When you're around a lot of guys, it helps that you are tall because you're looking at someone in the eye versus looking at them down here. And I know that in the kitchen, some of my friends who aren't as tall, they had a totally different experience. And also, I was older when I came into the kitchen. So I went to culinary school at 30. So I came in at a time where I knew I wanted to be here. I had left a career that I didn't like. So I'm here and I'm here to stay. And I knew that I could work long hours. I know that I'm strong, physically strong, as well as just emotionally strong. So I think determination has a lot to do with it. And just basically, digging your heels in and saying, I'm here to stay. And I think as women, we apologize a lot because we're very nurturing. So we want everyone else to feel really good. And we kind of have to stop that, And it doesn't make us a bitch. So what? Oh.
It's fine. We've said it now. Do you want me to say it too so you feel better? So there's no bitching. No bitches, right?
Right.
But we're
It's
like
we're not that, what is the Keel and, what is it, Peel and, Matthew Peel and? Key and Peel. Yeah, the Key and Peel with the bitch, with the wife, and they're going all about the wife, like.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, we're not. We're just strong women, and I think, and determined, and knowing what we like, and yeah.
Yeah, awesome. So I don't know. Does anyone in here have a Google Glass on? No. Oh, yes, Cliff does. So, have you heard about the Google Glass?
I've seen. Tell me about it. I've seen so many people walking around with it. I've seen yellow ones and pink ones. Cliff has a gray one.
Yeah, so I don't know very many specifics, but I do know that you can take pictures of things and you can record things. And so I'm wondering, what kind of technology, is there something like that you think is going to be beneficial in the cooking world, or that could apply? Would you want to wear one of those while you're cooking stuff and do a YouTube video, or?
Well, if I had one and I'm doing a cooking demonstration and I have to have a recipe on the fly, or if I have to look something up, like if somebody, is it like Intelligence, like that show?
Yeah, I think that you can Google stuff from it, and you can make phone calls and text, and an app called what? Kitch Me, and that's for the kitchen.
Oh, see, I would be the smartest girl in the room. I mean, I can see that if you're doing a demo or some kind of talk where let's say you need to see your recipe and you're here and on the fly, and somebody says, well, what else can you do with that ingredient? And you Google it, and this ingredient pops up. Well, you could do this, or maybe you can use these spices. Do you guys know the book, The Flavor Bible?
Oh, I love that book.
Oh, right?
I love it.
I mean, as a professional,
if you don't have it, you need to get it.
So those of you who know it, let me describe it to those of you who don't know it. So it's an ingredient. I mean, it's a book with all of these ingredients, and so from A to Z, you have all of these ingredients. And let's say you go. Are you looking it up now? See, if you had your glasses.
Taking a
note. So if you look up apples and you see everything that goes with apples, and then you see on that list honey. So then you go to H and you find honey, and you see everything that goes with honey. But on both lists, you will see rosemary. So then you can cross, source the rosemary, so you know that honey, rosemary, and apples go together, and you can create this dish with those ingredients. And it's a really great tool to create new dishes. And so professionals use it, and it's still like really top on like one of the #1 books to get in terms of spices. But so something like that, if you had that, like all of that information, in this app, then you could create on the fly, and you would be like so amazing.
That would be fun. Yeah, from the Flavor Bible, I was doing a wild boar dish, and we were celebrating Chocolate Day. Like chocolate and boar. Well, I ended up doing so the boar was marinated with juniper berries and overnight, so super tender. And then the sauce was parsnips and heavy cream and lavender and white chocolate. And it was I run it at route like once a quarter or so. So watch out for it. But it was so much fun, like doing the investigation and then this is kind of a weird combination. Is it going to work? And
it works.
It's fun. So.
Because all of those things in those lists, as you cross, there is, and the science of it, there is some property in each of those foods that kind of make it go together, and you don't know what it is. I mean, there are certain things that you know what go together. For instance, ratatouille. All of those ingredients grow together, they go together, and those but there's some of these weird combinations like white chocolate and boar and juniper berries. You're like, what? What? But then, speaking of that, let's say I was having a talk with somebody and I wanted to kind of share with them ways to get to know your palate. And I think that's so powerful. So obviously, when you buy my book, it's based on my palate, because all of the recipes I've tasted and said, yes, I like them. But let's say if you don't like lemon, and I love lemon, then 9 times out of 10, you may not like my recipes, or maybe they're too lemony, or maybe you try recipes that are too spicy. But just to get to know your palate. So if you have a talk and you say to somebody, well, what do you like? Well, I like sweet. And then you think, okay, what are the sweet things that you may like? And so you have this list, sweet potatoes, bananas, all of these different things. Or let's say you like bitter, and you have all of these things that they like and certain things that they don't like. Let's say they don't like turnip greens because they're bitter. So I can tell you how you can change that into something that you may like by adding a sweet or a component or salt, so that you will like it, so that it helps that person. Because I think sometimes when people try a dish and it's made in a certain way that they don't like, they will say, oh, I don't like turnip greens. But but they don't know why they don't like them. Or they'll say they're not good. It's not that they're not good, you don't like them. And there's a difference. And so often people say something isn't good when they don't like it, but if they understand their palates, then they can see how to change certain foods that they wouldn't normally like.
Yeah, that's cool. I like that. Let's see. So I know that you're doing down at Monterey, the Cooking
Yes.
for Solutions in
Yes.
May, which is
Yes.
really cool. That's always a fun event. I did it a couple years ago. And so Google does, all of our seafood is sustainable. We follow the Monterey Bay Watch guidelines. Can you tell us a little bit about sustainable seafood and your take on that?
So this event, Cooking for Solutions, is so amazing. I think I've done it, this is probably my third time, and I skipped a couple years. But when you're in the Monterey Bay, like when you're here, you're reminded why you're doing all this. And I think California has sort of been the lead in telling the rest of the country, you know, how to conserve and how to appreciate our land and not take it for granted. And so when you go to your Whole Foods and you see these, the fish that's on the, you know, avoid list, the red, and then you have the yellow and then the green, you know, it's so important. And it's actually doing this event that I started thinking about what fishes to buy, because you kind of forget, because they're there doesn't mean that you have to buy them. I mean, and sea bass. I had to just tell, I mean, in this industry, I think when we cook and we see kind of like the food rules, so to speak, but we forget that the layperson doesn't know. So my sister, who loves Chilean sea bass, I have to go and tell her, well, Kim, you really shouldn't have that. Honestly, if you go to a restaurant and they have it, then they're probably are having a lot of other fish that they should not have on their menu. And I would like for you not to go there, please.
Yeah.
You know, and it's our responsibility in being chefs and working with food to kind of lead the charge and tell people what they should and should not have, and it starts with us. So I take that responsibility very seriously, as I take the responsibility of cooking for someone very seriously.
Right.
Because if I'm in a bad mood, and I say this, if you're in a bad mood, the only thing you should make is a reservation.
Yes.
You know, and at that point you pray that whoever made your food there is in a good mood, because you'll think it's the bluefish that's off and it was the chef. You know.
It's true. Yeah, the energy that's in the kitchen definitely translates into the food. Absolutely. Cook with love.
Yes.
Always cook with love. Yeah. Yes. So you were on NPR recently, and one of the things that really caught my attention was your take on salt. And I loved the compliments versus insults that you referred to. Can you share with them that?
Yes, let me pick somebody out to share this with. Sir? Okay, so what's your name? Aaron? All right, so Aaron, are you old enough to have gone back for your class reunion? Okay, great. I don't know. You know, I went to my class reunion and I realized that Santa Claus was in my class. I'm like, whoa. Yeah. Okay. So Aaron, you go back to your high school class reunion and they say, oh, Aaron, you look so good. Oh, let me just back up. I call salt compliments, like Hillary said, but too many compliments is an insult. So that's the idea. But to get people to get their head around it, you know, like you say, Aaron, you know, you look really good. And you're like, thanks. You're like, yeah. And you're smiling at this point. And then like, no, you look really good. Have you guys seen Aaron? Doesn't he look good? Oh my God, you look so good. Oh, you look good. Okay, so then at this point you're thinking, well, damn, what did I look like before? I mean, right? Okay, because, you know, because again, too many compliments is an insult. And the same thing with salt. Salt is perfect if it is used in moderation and it goes into the food, you know, and as you're cooking, you add salt into the food, like the church and the steeple, that whole thing, you know, so the salt has to go into the fiber of the food. But if you use too much, you can't take it out and it ruins the dish. And a lot of times, or sometimes, people may not use salt and they will put it on the table and they're very proud of that. They're like, oh, I don't use salt in my food, it's on the table. And I'm like, thank you for letting me know, I don't have to go to the table. Okay, but, because when you add salt, you're putting salt on top of the food, it's only on top, so it's not going into the food. So you keep adding salt and adding salt and adding salt, and then you oversalt. And then all of a sudden, you have this dish that you can't eat. Right. Or when you buy processed foods, what you have said is, thank you for salting my food for me. You've given your power away because they've salted it for you. And so this is what I always try to tell people. when you're cooking from scratch, and it looks like chefs use a lot of salt, but you're cooking from scratch, and I know, and you're like, let it rain, and you're like, and Mario is like, oh, and the food is like, dusty. It's like you're, a covering of white dust on your food. But if it's a big piece of meat, it can take that. It can take that salt. But again, too much salt, too much of anything is an insult, because you're not tasting the food itself. Now you're only tasting the things that you put on it.
Right, just enough to enhance what's already going on.
Nature.
Yes.
And this is another thing, and this is why in a cookbook, speaking of nature gives you, this ingredient, the vegetables or whatever, and it changes. So the carrots may be sweet today, and tomorrow they're not sweet. So that's why it's so important to taste your food. Because you can't read in the cookbook, a half a teaspoon of salt, and then, well, dang, her food doesn't taste great, because you're using ingredients and you have to kind of taste to determine what that needs that day.
Yes, to taste.
Yeah.
Right. Well, are there any questions from any of you that you'd like to ask Carla?
Okay, you
You want to go?
I'm Natasha.
All right.
Hi, Natasha. You look good, girl.
I was wondering, since I saw you on Top Chef, and I love seeing the chew when I am at home. It's usually on a sick day. But I'm wondering, what would be your perfect job or perfect show that you want to be on? What would that be like?
Wow, right now, it is my job to talk and eat with my friends. And I get paid. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. I mean, it's pretty perfect. I work 3 days a week. I get there at 6:30. I leave around 2. And then people invite me to eat more later.
That does sound pretty great.
It sounds pretty awesome. I have a 4-day weekend. I mean, I know it sounds really awesome. I mean, but I have to work, and putting together recipes and stuff. But it's pretty great. It's pretty great, yeah. Cooking without a clock, like on Top Chef, Go Be Fabulous. Yeah, this is pretty awesome. Yeah.
Nice. I think we have, let's see, you have a microphone back there? All right.
Carla, I'm Chelsea.
Hi, Chelsea.
I love your show, I love your everything.
Thank you.
But I actually didn't know the part of your story that you didn't go to culinary school until
Right.
So for anyone who's never who may want that to happen in their future, that's inspiring. But where would you go if you were to be 26?
And my name was Chelsea.
Yeah.
Into the industry. What would you do, even if it's in your side? What would you do?
What I would do, even if my name wasn't Chelsea, hint, hint, does your boss know that you're thinking of leaving?
No, I'm not thinking of leaving, but I just want to be more into it.
Oh, okay.
Learning and
So you want to do it on the side? I would say recreational cooking classes are perfect. A lot of culinary schools, not only do they do certificate programs, but they also do classes on the side. Volunteering for places like Sur La Table, I think they have a cooking program and they take volunteers, so you don't have to pay. I would do that. You can do that as an option. If you really want to get into it and you don't want to do the whole certificate program, sometimes there are evening programs where there are about 6 to 8 weeks where you get the basics. And let me just be clear, going to culinary school is great. It gives you the technique, but it's that technique and your experiences that give you the thing that you're probably wanting. So for me, I was 30 and I went to culinary school because I had to do a jump start. Did you go to culinary school?
I did. I had been in the kitchens. My parents owned restaurants, so since I was 6 or 7, I was in the kitchens. Then I went to culinary school at 18, and I learned some stuff, but I already kind of
right. So you already knew that, so you probably didn't need to
I just wanted the certificate.
Right. So you just wanted that piece of paper to say that I did something, and also you were 18, so you probably wanted to have an experience of going to school.
Yes.
As a career changer, I went because I needed a jump start, but. For you, I would maybe take that abbreviated course where you get technique, and then you just play, and then you take one-off classes and play and cook for your friends. When I went to culinary school, I actually would get my friends to buy the ingredients, and I would go and cook. Whatever turned out, turned out. If it was bad, I'm like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. There's always a way out. You always look for that door out.
Right.
Yeah. Did I see another person over here?
Yeah, let's get the.
Well, I've watched you on Top Chef, and I just love the show. And I wanted to ask, what are some of the things about the show that aren't obvious to the viewers? Like, what does it take to be really successful on that show, other than cooking skills?
Oh, yes. Well, there are about 90 people working on the show. We have really amazing producers. And the producers, we have the people who, the executive producers, but we also have like the people who put the topics together. And the producers actually come to us with a theme of the show, and we work from that theme, and then they have this grid. So that helps us narrow, zoom in on the dishes that we might put together for that show. So they'll come in and say, Carla, we're doing a show on, it's called Batter Up is the theme, and so we are doing something with batter. And Michael's already doing something with the meat, Mario's doing this, can you do a dessert? So there's that part of it. It's so hard to cook, like I said, it's so hard to cook and talk to somebody and you want to make a good dish and relate to the people who are watching you. That was the biggest transition for me, and so it just comes with practice. But it also helps to, like in the beginning, I would read through the entire script of the show, and then whoever we had coming on the show, I felt like Oprah. In my head, I said, this is Oprah reading a book the night before she sees a guest. So then you know that you're going to have a guest, so you want to know a little bit about them. And so you watch all these clips, and you go down this rabbit hole of who they are, and you want to have some information just to connect with them. So there's all of that, and that's what I'm doing after 2 o'clock when I say I'm off, but I'm not really off. So that, and just absorbing all of that information, and being 50 and having that hormone that takes your mind away, it's hard too. You know, I don't remember a darn thing. I mean, I'm like, okay, I have 3 things to tell you. 1, blah, 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 blah. 2, blah, 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 blah. 3. Yeah. I guess it wasn't important. You know, so all of that. So it's a balance of all of that. But the best thing that you may or may not see is that we have the support of each other. So let's say I do forget something, but Michael's right there. He's like, oh, Carla, what about blah, blah, blah? And then so we have that between each other, which is amazing. If it wasn't for Michael and Mario specifically about how to balance that food and doing the demo and interview, I would have been totally lost. I really relied on them. Clinton had also done a lot of television, and the thing that he told me was to be authentic, to be yourself. And I actually, what a lot of people may not know, after the first season, I went to a media trainer, and it really wasn't to learn how to do TV. It was trying to be the best me I could be in front of a camera and not have those inhibitions.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, I think we had another question here. We got the microphone up to you.
So with a lot of new cooks, they seem to be really intimidated by the oven, but right away eager to cook eggs. Eggs are so technically difficult. Why do you think this is so backwards? That, I mean, sticking a boneless, skinless chicken breast in the oven and clicking broil, you have long stretches of time. You can be off by 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. Eggs, it's like 5 seconds. It's over. Why do you think things are backwards like that for new chefs?
When I was working in the kitchen and I was running a kitchen and I was having to hire people, I would have them make an omelet, eggs. And I had them make an omelet because I could tell how they held the pan, how cleanly they worked, how they used their tools. It's a lot of finesse in something very simple. And I'm like, can you do the simple very well? You know, when I go to an ice cream store, I want their vanilla. When I go to a restaurant, I want their roasted chicken. Can you do the simple really well? Because a lot of smoke and mirrors, you can kind of slide under the wire with all of this,
Yes,
and
yeah.
with presentation and sauces and your food on one side of the plate, thinking that they left the rest of it off. You know, you can do a lot with it, but can you do the simple well? And with eggs, are they seasoned perfectly? Are they fluffy? Is the omelet coming out of the pan? You know, is it all tucked nicely? So in culinary school, you actually spend about a month on eggs
Yeah.
alone. I think with cooking something like chicken, people are afraid of it, I think, because it goes into this box. It goes in there, and I guess they don't know what's going to come out. You know, it's like this magic box. But I disagree that you have 5 or 10 minutes with that chicken, because people will cook that chicken to death. People are afraid of raw chicken. I mean,
Yeah.
they are so afraid, and they will cook it. I mean, they will cook it until it's dust.
Yeah, I mean, the health department says 165, but at home, pull it out a little earlier. It's going to continue to carry over cooking on your counter.
We have
It'll be
2
okay.
words for you: residual heat.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, let's get the. Oh, there we go. There's
So
the microphone.
I have a question for you. There was an article in the New Yorker this week about this crazy dinner they had at WD50. They had 30 chefs flying from all over the world to basically create all their interpretations of like the favorite dishes ever. What's the best meal that you've ever had? Because you work with so many phenomenal chefs over the years. Like, what is the most memorable meal that you've ever done?
Oh wow! What is the most memorable meal
hard.
I've had? I know it's really hard. It's very hard, and it also depends on where I am and you know what mood I'm in, who I'm with.
season is.
Yeah, the season.
Yeah.
I do remember when I got to New York, and it was probably the first time that I went to ABC Kitchen. What's his restaurant? Oh my God, not Daniel Boulud. Hey, you got your glasses on? You can look that up. John George, thank you. Oh, Lord, girl, she didn't even have the glasses on. And I had, I mean, the meal was amazing. The bread was so good, and it was pea season, and I love peas, and they had the fava bean spread, like, and it was the fava beans, and the bread was just the perfect amount of salt, and the spread and the texture, and it was just so good. And I was like, oh my God, this is the best I've ever had. And I've said that many times. But then I got to dessert, and they had this like a strawberry shortcake, and they had these little tiny berries that was so perfectly sweet, and they had done a almost like not a coulis, but a broth or a syrup of the strawberries, and they strained it, and it was so clear, and it had lime in it, and it was so perfectly sweet and tangy. And then these little berries, and the whipped cream was perfectly whipped, and this like angel food cake, and it was so good. It was so good, and I love when somebody can take ingredients and just let them sing, and it's not a lot of fuss, and 1,000 people haven't touched it, so it's, you know, and that was really great. Conversely, thinking about that same dish, and I went to a restaurant, and it was Jersey cream with Jersey blueberries. It was blueberry season and maple syrup. Doesn't that sound heavenly?
Yeah.
Well, I got it, and the cream was over whipped just before it became butter. And then I'm moving the spoon back, because that was the first thing that I was like, oh. And I'm like, well, my maple syrup wasn't even there. So one ingredient it was 3 ingredients on the whole dish. One ingredient was over whipped, and then the other one, the maple syrup wasn't there. So then I said, well, my maple syrup isn't there, and I didn't even mention the cream. So they go back and they put the maple syrup over the over whipped cream, which really curdled it up. It was like, and I was like, oh. So for me, it's too bad, right?
Yeah.
It's too bad. So for me, the best meal is like when you can celebrate a chef by making something for you and honoring the food. So it changes every time. I mean, when I went to your place, it was so good. I mean, how you like transported me to the Philippines. It was amazing. Now, not that I'm interviewing you, but have you ever been to a Kamayan meal? So tell me, Hillary. I'm glad you could come today. Thank you all.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. Now, you do such beautiful work. You travel the globe. No. Have you ever had a Kamayan meal, like a Filipino feast where they do the Kamayan meal where you eat with your hands?
Yes. I'm forgetting the name of the restaurant. It's in Redwood City. It's a sister restaurant to Left Bank. I think it's the Brasserie. Anyway, the chef there is Filipino, and last year he did this whole spread, and it was amazing. And yeah, he has a calamandan tree in his backyard. And so he had fresh calamandans, and then he had also preserved some.
I just discovered the calamandans.
Oh.
That little tart, sweet orange. You guys, you have it good out here. You have it really good. I mean, you know, somebody sent me some from Florida. Oh, it's so delicious.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, the spread.
Isn't it amazing?
It was amazing.
It's so
and then
good.
to get to play with the food with your hands.
Yes,
I do love eating with my hands.
I do
quite
too,
a
but
bit,
you know, there's etiquette to eating with your hands.
Yes.
If you go above the second knuckles, you're eating like an 8. You're not, you know, it's
some delicacy to it.
Yeah, it's so fantastic. Yes, sorry.
Hi, I want to ask you a question about one of the spices you have in your very nice chart. It's saffron.
Yes.
So first, is there a difference between the saffron that is used for Persian food and the Spanish food? That would be the first question. And the second one is how to use it, because I've been learning how to make Spanish paella the last couple of weeks, and I've tried a couple of times, but it's a mystery how to use it. Lots of different advice out there, and it makes it so unreliable, like unpredictable, the result, right? So maybe I should go for a saffron and powder version. I don't know. No, right?
Don't do the powder.
But I wanna find out a technique
you can use a saffron powder if you wanted to.
I prefer to use a thread, but if I have a technique that goes well all the time, if you both can give
I'm going to ask you, is there a
would be
difference?
great.
I mean, basically, what the threads and where you are in the world and.
I mean, I don't know that there's actually a difference between. I'm sure that there is, because obviously one plant in one area of the world is going to be a little bit different in the other area of the world, even if they're the exact same plant.
Right,
there's going to be the soil and things will have an influence. So I'm sure there would be some variation. But I would think that it would be close enough that they should be interchangeable.
It shouldn't change the taste. And now, how I was taught to incorporate saffron, I take a little bit of water and a sugar cube, and I actually chop it up with the water because the saffron won't go flying everywhere. So I chop it up and I bloom the saffron in that little bit of water, and then I incorporate it like that. How are you bloom it in water?
So I do bloom it in water. Often I use dates instead of sugar.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you grind it, you make a little powder. So that's the whole thing. I said chop it, but I use a mortar and pestle with the little sugar cube and the water, and you grind it up so you have the saffron water that gets incorporated into the dish. And you use dates.
I use dates just because I try not to use too much sugar, and I try to go more a natural approach.
Well, in my head, I saw a brown sugar cube.
Well, hey, there you go.
I did.
I accept that.
Thank you.
And that would be warm water.
Yes.
Yeah, like room temperature.
Room temperature, not hot.
Not hot.
Yeah.
And the water should turn this nice bright yellow, and then you know it's ready.
But too much saffron is bitter, and it will ruin a dish.
Yeah, little goes a long way. That's why it's so expensive. You just need a few threads. Yeah.
But I want you to tweet me when you make that paella, Carla Hall. You guys can tweet me. I actually respond when people are nice and they're talking about food. I won't block you.
All right, I think we have time for one more question.
Be quick. One thing that stood out to me when you were on Top Chef, apart from your personality, was that you had quite a few vegetarian dishes. And I see in the cookbook you also have a non-meat section, which as a vegetarian I appreciate quite a bit. But it's unusual. A lot of chefs focus on meat because I guess there's more ta-da effect if you have meat in dishes. I wonder, is it just kind of a natural inclination? Do you make a conscious choice to incorporate vegetarian dishes?
A lot of people think that I'm actually a vegetarian, and I'm not.
I get that too.
Yeah, you get that too? Yeah. Two reasons. One, I love vegetables. It's like my favorite. I love vegetables. The other reason on Top Chef was because as a caterer, and I was a caterer when I went on Top Chef, now I'm a recovering caterer. It's been 925 days since my last job. This is when you guys say, hi, Carla, keep coming back. I would look at the menu. So a lot of times we would be doing an event where all the food that we made was the only food that the people who came to the event could have. So I would look at everything that people were preparing, and there wouldn't be anything for the vegetarian. And I'm like, well, what is the vegetarian going to eat? And this is what I'm thinking. I mean, what are they going to eat? And because I don't drink, I'm always wanting the person with the specialty food request to feel like I thought about you. And that's why I did a lot of vegetarian foods. And now I think it's much easier to get vegetarian. But whenever I was catering, I said, please, if there are any vegetarians, let me know ahead of time, because I didn't want the vegetarian to have the sides. Right. And just because you are a vegetarian and it's a vegetable does not mean that you didn't cook that vegetable with some chicken stock. Right? I mean that. So it's my sense of catering to people and wanting them to feel like I thought about you, I knew you were coming, so here, have this dish, and also my love for vegetables. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you all for joining, and it was so great meeting you.
Thank you,
2 days in a row.
I know. I can't wait to have the goodies. You're fantastic. You guys have a good one right here. She's a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah,
so,
do pictures
thank
or
you.
whatever. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.